Abbotsford misses a chance to advance. The Canucks fall 4-1 at home to Tucson, and this opening round AHL playoff series is going the distance. This is the playoff version of Rink Wide. And we welcome you inside the Rink Wide studios, the second night of playoff action out in the Fraser Valley. And unlike last night when the Abbotsford Canucks prevailed, this time they fall 4-1 to the Tucson Roadrunners. And so this best of three, this sprint through the opening round of the American Hockey League playoffs, well, it's going to be decided in a winner-take-all showdown on Saturday night at the Abbotsford Center. So a missed opportunity for the Vancouver Canucks farm team. And power plays were a story in game one. Power plays a story here on the second night as well, as Abby goes 0 for 5 with the man advantage, had the first 4 power plays of this hockey game and couldn't do anything with them. And so missed opportunities came back to bite the baby Canucks, who gave up the opening goal and then 2 more in the second period. Linus Karlsson gave the Canucks a little bit of life with his second goal in as many nights. So he's up to 2 goals, joined Sammy Blais there after Blais scored a couple of power play goals in the opener. Linus Karlsson off a bit of a broken play, a backhand at the side of the net after Atu Ratu had crashed the crease. And 3 minutes into the third period, it's a 3-1 hockey game. There's lots of time. This is an Abbotsford team that is loaded with guys that have skated in the National Hockey League this season. This is a team that has played incredibly well down the stretch. And quite frankly, they laid an egg in the third period. They got outshot 12-8 in the third, and Tucson sealed it with an empty netter with a couple of minutes to go. But we talk about score effects and desperation, and you saw it from Tucson last night, down 4-1, making it a 4-3 hockey game, and then getting that penalty shot in the final minute of regulation. There really wasn't much of a push from the Abbotsford Canucks, and so that was disappointing, with a chance to eliminate Tucson and get some rest and prepare for a steeper hill ahead here in these AHL playoffs. Now, all of a sudden, this Abbotsford team that had a 13-game win streak had 1 outright loss in its last 19 hockey games prior to tonight, on the ropes, facing elimination, just as Tucson is. That's the nature of a best-of-3 series. So Tucson did what it had to do to stay alive, and really, the story of this game is Jackson Stauber, who was Tucson's starting goaltender, but maybe the story of the game is really the head coach of Tucson making the decision on back-to-back nights, starting a different goaltender. Artur Silov's got the start in both games, and I'm not pinning the loss on Silovs, but he's given up 3 goals in each of these games. We just don't see at the professional level goalies being asked to play back-to-back. Tucson had options, elected to go with Jackson Stauber. Jackson Stauber was spectacular in this hockey game. Spoiler alert, when we get to the 3 stars, you're going to hear his name. He makes 38 saves on the 39 Abbotsford shots. And so clearly Tucson made the right call here. Went with their other guy. I don't know if he's the backup, although when you don't start the playoff opener, I suppose you probably are going to go with your best guy on opening night. Now, all of a sudden, Manny Malholtra's got a decision to make about who he comes back with on Saturday in the third deciding game of this series. It is Rink Wide. We're focusing on the American Hockey League playoffs. Dave Hall is going to join us momentarily from Canucks Army, has covered this Abbotsford team all season long, prospects writer as well. And we had a good chat last night about game number 1. Looking forward to getting Dave's thoughts on this one as well, for a team that, again, has been up to the challenge for the better part of 6 weeks here down the stretch. A disappointing performance, and give Tucson credit. Did what they had to do. We talked last night. One of the differences was Abbotsford's better players ultimately outplayed and outperformed Tucson's best players. Kyler Yamamoto, probably the most familiar name to hockey fans on this Tucson roster. He came through with a bit of a backbreaker in the final minute of the second period. It's a 2-0 hockey game. Abbotsford's not in great shape there, but down 2. You always talk about the most dangerous lead in hockey. And as we show the replay on the live stream, just a dreadful pass into the middle of the ice by Tristan Nielsen, who opened the scoring last night. But you've got to be mindful of where you are on the ice, where your teammates are on the ice, but also where you are in the hockey game. With 20 seconds left in the second period, just get out of the period down 2 and take your chances after a break. Hit reset in the intermission, come out firing, get an early one, and then take your chances. And Nielsen with the blind backhand pass into the middle of the ice, and Kyler Yamamoto smelled blood and was off to the races there as Abbotsford got caught. All sorts of open ice, and Yamamoto made no mistake. I don't know if you caught it on the replay, but crashed heavily into the end boards, but I think was feeling okay because he got his first of the playoffs here, and that was a big goal to put Tucson up 3-0. There was no comeback in the Abbotsford Canucks tonight. So the series is tied 1-1. Abbotsford outshoots Tucson 39-12, but it was a much wider edge after 40 minutes of play. It was 31-20, and then, as we said, the shots in the third period, 12-8, and that included one of the Abbotsford power plays. So just missed opportunities across the board. Top guys had some chances, but nobody wants to hear about the chances that they didn't convert. It's about how many pucks did you put in the net, and at the end of the night, Tucson scored 4 times, and this Abbotsford team scored just once. Rink Wide brought to you in part by Bet365. If you have some thoughts, if you were at the game, if you watched the game on the live stream, or perhaps you were watching the Whitecaps with one of the best nights in franchise history at BC Place, beating Lionel Messi and Inter Miami, maybe you just want to get caught up on what went on out in the Fraser Valley, and we hope that you're joining us for whatever reasons. We're happy to have you here as we do this after each and every one of these Abbotsford playoff games, and we'll see if there is a lengthy playoff run as their backs are against the wall now, heading to a one-game winner-take-all on Saturday. But hit us up with a super chat, our charity partner all season long, the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. A 44-win regular season. Still a chance here. And a good chance. They've got home ice. You play all season to be the higher seed to get home ice, to get a deciding game on home ice. And so Abbotsford's going to have to be better than they were in this hockey game. At least they're going to have to find ways to convert better than they did in this hockey game. And we'll see what goes down after a day off on Friday. Back at it 7 o'clock on Saturday. We're going to get to Dave Hall here in a sec. This segment, Rink Wide, a presentation of the Pacific Toyota dealers, and they want to tell you about the Toyota BZ4X, 100% electric. It's backed by the peace of mind of knowing it's a Toyota and that spark of joy you get when you pass a gas station. Everybody else is filling up, not you. You're blowing past them on the freeway. The added perk is you're able to use the HOV lanes when driving an EV, even when you're alone in the vehicle. All the cargo capacity for you and the kids and all their sporting gear. And it can handle any terrain, so it can take you from the city to the slopes or wherever your life takes you. And right now, when you choose the BZ4X, you can get up to $6,500 in rebates and incentives. And now you can finance a 2025 BZ4X from 0.99% APR for 36 months. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. We'll get to all of our usual features here coming up momentarily, but right now, want to bring in Dave Hall of Canucks Army and get his thoughts on a 4-1 Abbotsford loss to the Tucson Roadrunners. So the Roadrunners stay alive, Dave, and ultimately they had the better goaltender. I don't know that Tucson was the better team start to finish in this hockey game, but capitalized on their chances. And, a terrific decision on the part of Tucson's head coach to go with Jackson Stauber, a guy that has played a little bit in the National Hockey League, but was primarily the backup to Karel Vejmelka for Utah much of the second half of the season. But he was the star of the show. 38 saves. Abbotsford, aside from the Linus Karlsson goal there early in the third, just didn't have an answer for the Tucson netminder.
No, and you kind of got a feel for the Canucks a little bit because, this wasn't for a lack of effort. Every single forward except for one had at least one shot on goal, if not 3 or 4. So it wasn't all the forwards were hitting out there. They were going for it, shooting everything. But I mean, he even got a little lucky there with a few, nice snowmen on the ice. But at the end of the day, you gotta capitalize. And when you can't score more than one, you're typically not going to win a hockey game. So
power play led them to victory, even though it gave a shorthanded goal last night. But what a difference today makes. They had the first 4 power plays of the hockey game. They had a 5th power play in the third period when they were down by 2 and had a chance to cut the lead to 1 and really apply some pressure. Didn't love the third period power play. There were moments through the night where they generated looks, some scrambles, some close calls, as you said, but an 0 for at the end of the night. They go 0 for 5, and that tells a huge part of this story in game number 2.
Yeah, and that's sort of been an issue all season, to be honest. I believe they finished 17th overall in the regular season. Like, it had its moments, as it did tonight. They're always kind of there, and they have a few set plays, but ultimately, again, you really want to see a guy like Jonathan Lekkerimäki or even Danila Klimovic, who was really good on the power play this year, just kind of take the reins and get something to go. Lekkerimäki had a few good chances there. I believe it was in the first period, but aside from that, just a little quiet, right? And they do have a nice set play that they seem to love using for the last 2 seasons. I don't know if they just feel like it's people have just figured it out, but they haven't used it at all. It's that down low play, the bumper play, and they just haven't utilized it at all. I feel like they're really trying to go for those half wall shots. I mean, when Lekkerimäki takes it, he just likes to shoot, kind of thing. So I don't know, maybe it's just a little predictable, but overall, that's kind of been the issue all season. Their power play is just a little consistent, and at the end of the day, that's the game right there. They had 4 opportunities, golden opportunities to take some leads here, and they just couldn't get it done. So.
Yeah, as I look through my notes, the first power play of the night, Max Sasson all alone in the slot. He had a really good look. Sammy Blais, who scored twice in the power play last night, rang one off the bar, so close call, but to no avail. And then you mentioned Jonathan Lekkerimäki, where I noticed him most in this hockey game was on the second power play, late in the first period. His first chance hits the post, gets the puck back again, another opportunity, and knocked the stick out of the hands of Jackson Stauber. Like, that's what you want to see from Jonathan Lekkerimäki. Unfortunately, I didn't see a whole lot the rest of the way, but the margins can be pretty fine. Like, both of those were clear scoring opportunities, and he's scored a bunch of goals at every level he's ever played at from those spots on the ice, but just didn't go his or Abbotsford's way tonight.
No, and again, as I mentioned last night, he's 20 years old, so you're not expecting him to come out and light it up in his first couple games in the AHL playoffs, but you're just kind of hoping for a little bit more with the kind of opportunity that he is getting, and given his reputation of being that goal scorer, you just kind of hope for a little more. But at this point, it's quite clear who the go-to guys are, and it's Archie Bains, it's Max Sasson, and it's Sammy Blais up front. And it's nice because at least they got a guy like Victor Mancini back there. I don't know about you, but for me, he's one of those guys that just been standing out the entire series so far. And I hope that I'm not jumping too ahead with something you want to talk about later. But, ultimately, I think, they're going to be the heroes of this game 3, if they can be. And they've just been standing out. Max Sasson has just been flying, and just, I believe he led the slate with 5 shots again tonight. So, that's him. On their entries, he's the go-to guy. He's just utilizing that speed right up the gut. And yeah, just would like to see a little more from Lekkerimäki and Danila Klimovic as well.
Just on Mancini, really the only lineup change, and we talked about this last night, and we weren't sure why Cole McWard didn't play. McWard was inserted into the lineup. Kirill Kudryavtsev, who I actually thought played pretty well last night. I liked what I saw from him in the couple of games that he got in the NHL lineup late in the season, but he comes out of the lineup, McWard back in there, and yet Cole McWard didn't play a lot in this hockey game, and part of that was, the AHL game sheet doesn't show you ice time, but every time I looked up, it was number 90. It was Victor Mancini in all situations. The power play in the third period on a penalty kill, he was the first guy in. He was, trying to clog up the puck behind the net and kill off time, trying to make things happen. And, this is great for his confidence to get these opportunities to play high leverage games in the playoffs. They papered him down so that he was going to be available. We talked last night about why DPD isn't available. Victor Mancini's a work in progress. You can see that he still has a ways to go to be an NHL regular. But you give him a little bit of leash here, and this is a guy that has the raw tools. And I'm with you. Even in the losing cause, he caught my eye on just about every shift out.
Well, I mean, he had to, like you said, he was on the ice. It seemed every single second of the game. So, whenever you were looking for someone else, it just number 90 was there. So, yeah, he's at a different level at the AHL level. It's actually it's nice to see because at the NHL level, you can tell that he's just trying to do his thing, make sure he stays in the lineup, and doesn't get that classic Rick Tocchet glare at the end of his shift. And down in the AHL, we saw it from Eric Brandstrom earlier in the year. When they're in the AHL and they're they're able to get the leash off a little bit, they're showing that he showed some pretty nice moves. He's all over the ice. He's a bit of a rover. And as you alluded to on that penalty kill, he was a one-man show there. He started up the ice on his own, took it around the net, got a couple shots on net, came back and was still digging for it. So yeah, and also it's a credit to Akito Hirose as well. It's a stark contrast to his game last year, who he was in and out of the lineup pretty much all season, and this year now he's not only in the lineup over a guy like Kirill Kudryavtsev, but he's also playing quite a bit, just like Victor Mancini. If you weren't paying attention, you would have saw Akito Hirose quite often as well. So, it's credit to his game. He's obviously come a long way this season, and I agree with you. I thought Kirill Kudryavtsev was a fine option. He has been all season, and so I was a little surprised to see him come out over a guy like maybe Hirose. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter when you're playing Victor Mancini 30 plus minutes a night. So,
yeah, it's too bad that we can't see ice time. The way the pairs shook down, at least to start the game. Christian Wolanin with Mancini, Guillaume Brisebois and Jet Wu, and then you had Hirose and McWard, but it felt like they really went with 5 defensemen, and it wasn't due to injury. McWard played in this hockey game, but a guy that's been there all year and at that level felt like sort of the sixth, very clearly the sixth defenseman, and in a losing effort, not pinning it on him, but Manny Malhotra tinkered a little bit with a winning lineup. I do wonder what they do on Saturday night. They're going to have some decisions to make here. I want to talk to you a little bit. I mean, you've watched this team closely all season long. I've sort of done it from afar, from an arm's reach. They're tied. I mean, 1-1. You play all season to get home ice advantage. They're still in decent shape, but Tucson's playing with house money now. They got the win to force this thing, and now both of these teams are staring elimination in the face on Saturday. So through 2 games here, and we talked about the fact the power play didn't produce for the Canucks in this hockey game. I'm with you. I thought Max Sasson was probably the best skater. So who has to elevate here? Like Atu Ratu had an assist on the goal tonight. Outside of that, I really haven't noticed him an awful lot through 2 games. Expected more, certainly. Lekermaki is on that list, and we'll get to our stat that stands out here, but we'll let the cat out of the bag that Danila Klimovich led this team in goal scoring in the regular season. Dave, he doesn't have a shot on goal through 2 games in this series.
Yeah, and it is a little difficult. We actually, we thought this before the series too. It's they've been playing so well up to the whole stretch, but at the same time, a lot of those guys were playing top line minutes are now dropped down to the bottom 6, if not in the lineup at all. So the team is really just trying to figure out its chemistry as a whole team on its own. And so now Klimovich, who was kind of looked at as that go-to guy for a lot of the season, especially in the last little stretch, he's now bumped down to a 3rd line role where he's not playing as many minutes. And so, we've always thought with Klimovich that, when he's at his best, he's playing a lot of minutes, he's getting himself engaged in the play and taking a lot of shots. And when he's not getting those minutes to be able to do all that, I think that's when his game really starts to deteriorate, when he's just not getting those minutes that he's used to playing and getting that chance to engage himself. Because if he's not getting engaged, he's a no-show, to be quite honest. And so, I think that's just a victim of how it goes when you get 7 healthy bodies coming down, drop down to the AHL. And, I don't know if he's got to if Malhotra has to find some ways to get him more ice time, but at the same time, it's kind of tough when you got the guys that are in the lineup. So I don't know. It's one of those things. Yeah, he's got 25 goals, but he's also been streaky, and we're seeing it right now. So,
well, our Tyson Cole out in Abbotsford just sending me a note here. Christian Wolanin didn't play the final 10 minutes of the game. So when they got the goaltender out, normally that's a situation where Christian Wolanin would be manning the point. Didn't play the final 10 minutes. Manny Malhotra after the game said he's getting looked at right now this time of the year. Some bumps and bruises, but nothing of concern right now. And so hopefully Christian Wolanin is available for the deciding game on Saturday. After back-to-back games, I would imagine probably just optional, if any sort of practices on Friday, and then get back at it and get ready to go on Saturday night. So let's just run through the goals quickly. There weren't that many of them, but I thought a decent start for Abbotsford. Again, had some opportunities, didn't convert, and then moments after Linus Karlsson took a pretty wicked cross-check to the face that went unpenalized, and I know that Abbotsford was upset with that, and that's when Abbotsford opened the scoring. They went back up the ice, and a deflection of a point shot, Ben McCartney was able to tip it home. As I look at the night for Artur Silovs here, again, he got out-dueled. I'm not suggesting that he was the reason that the Abbotsford Canucks lost, but the better goaltender was tending the net for Tucson on this night. A deflection goal. If there was a goal that maybe you would like to save, it was the second one. Looked like Agazino had a pretty clean look and just beat Silovs 4 minutes into the second period. And so,
it was a bit of a flutter.
Yeah, I mean, at 1-0, Abbotsford's fine. 2-0, now the hill's getting pretty steep. And then we talked about the Yamamoto breakaway right off the top. At least I did. I haven't got your thoughts there, but that's just one of those plays that it can't happen. It just simply cannot happen, whether it's regular season, whether it's playoffs, in a 2-0 game and time winding down against a guy who has scored a bunch of goals in the National Hockey League. Wrong guy to give the puck to, and Yamamoto made no mistake. But just a dreadful giveaway there by Tristan Nielsen.
Well, it's unacceptable, to be honest. You have to be aware that not only you're just throwing it up to the center of the ice, but you also have to be aware of the change that's going on right behind you. And like you said, 20 seconds left on the clock, down to 2 goals. Just get it deep, get pucks deep. Just do what you can. That wasn't the only giveaway. That they're lucky that was the only giveaway that led to a goal. But that was an issue for most of the game, to be honest. They gave up quite a few giveaways, a few 10 bell stops that Silovs had to make right in front of the net. And so it was one of those games where it was a little bit weird because, in the first period, I thought they came out guns a-blazing. I actually, I thought this was going to be one of those nights where they closed it out, because much like they did in the first game, I felt it was all Canucks in that first period, and they came out flying. But just as the game went on, they just slowly but surely started to kind of dwindle a little bit, and then those giveaways. But yeah, that second one, that just takes all the wind out of the sails, and head into the dressing room down 3 unnecessarily. So,
it's funny that we talked about it last night, that they gave up the first shorthanded goal of the season. And then I'm watching the second period. I can't remember one of the 2 power plays they had in the second period, just coughing the puck up in their own end. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how did this team get through the regular season without giving up a shorthanded goal? Because they were really having trouble protecting the puck. And you're right. We look at Artur Silovs and the goals that got past him, but he was forced to make some saves and really mop up after some brutal defensive play in front of him. So, here they are. They went back-to-back with Silovs. Gets a day off. They've come this far. Do you anticipate that they run him out again on Saturday, or would you see what Tucson did as maybe some sort of inspiration for Manny Malhotra to make a goaltending switch at this point?
I don't know. With 2 days off, or a day off, I guess. Sorry. I think you probably just have to ride Silovs at this point. I mentioned last night, I thought tonight, if you're going to do it at all, tonight's probably the night you get Tolopilo in there. The back-to-back scenario, you still have a game in hand if needed. I thought this was definitely the game to get Tolopilo in the net. And now that you haven't, I think you just got to ride the hand that you've had and go with it. I mean, again, as I was alluded to, it's not like he played bad. So, he made 28 saves tonight, and we go from there and just hope he can get it done. And, they can clean up some of those turnovers in the defensive end.
Well, I mean, look, they have had this remarkable run, just their second outright loss in the last 20 games. That has to matter. They've got to make that matter on Saturday night, and all this good work. And, it's been fun to chart their progress, and you've been watching them night in, night out. It really would be a shame to battle for second spot the way that they did, win some high leverage games right down to the wire to get second place, to get this first round series on home ice. Where's your confidence level? I mean, losses happen, and playoff hockey is about having a short memory and, wiping the slate clean and getting back at it. Maybe a day off on Friday is a good thing for them, but where's your confidence level that you and I are going to be doing Rink Wide Abbotsford edition beyond Saturday night?
It's high. I mean, the one thing that we could say about this team, especially in the back half, since the calendar's turned 2025, is it's been resilient. any single time that they've had adversity, it seems like they've bounced back, whether it be in the same game or the next game. So, they haven't done back-to-back losses in quite some time, and I don't anticipate it to happen. But, never count this 7th seed out. Like I said, this Tucson team has been clawing their way up the standings. They were in a dogfight for weeks for that 7th spot. So they're coming in, as you said, they're playing with house's money. So, don't count them out. But I think the Canucks are probably going to bounce back and take this in some way, shape, or form by Saturday, and we should be celebrating a nice victory in 48 hours.
Well, we will be doing Rink Wide then as well, and I know that you've got some writing to do, so I want to again let people know if they're just checking out Rink Wide here. And Dave is the Canucks Abbotsford writer, has covered this team all season long, covers prospects for this organization as well. So you've got what you call the Farmies, which is a post-game report you had last night. People can go check that out if you want to get caught up to speed on the series in totality. But you'll have a fresh Farmies, I would imagine, either late tonight or first thing tomorrow morning, looking back at this Game 2 loss.
Yep, plugging away as we speak, so it shouldn't be too long. We'll see how long it goes out, but should be there tonight. And let's just hope we got a better result on Saturday to write about.
All right. Well, we'll catch up with you on the weekend then. Appreciate this one tonight, and we will see you in 48 hours.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. Have a good night.
All right. There you go. Dave Hall from Canucks Army. Check out the Farmies. He just gave you some of his thoughts, but I'm sure has some others as he breaks down the game and basically chronological order, looks at the goals, some of the scoring chances. For me, the power play was the story of this hockey game, as Abbotsford went 0 for 5 with the man advantage. But it can't just be special teams. Through 2 games here, Tucson has outscored Abbotsford, Vancouver's farm team. Tucson has outscored Abbotsford 5-3 at 5-on-5. So, the baby Canucks have played 2 games and have scored 3 5-on-5 goals. Not enough, not nearly enough. And as a result, they're going to have to play again here on Saturday if they want to extend this hockey season. Abbotsford went 0 for 5 on the power play. Tucson was 0 for 3. When we had Dave on there, you saw the stat that stands out. And look, I said this. I've watched this Abbotsford team from afar. Haven't watched every single night, but Danila Klimovich has been disappointing. There have been other guys that didn't step up in this hockey game, but Klimovich led Abbotsford with 25 goals in the regular season, doesn't have a shot on goal through 2 games, and that is the stat that stands out. Dave, with some context there, though. Klimovich played the entire season. Think of how many guys were up and down between Vancouver and Abbotsford, didn't play the entire season. Klimovich was there and had a more prominent role, was in a more elevated role. Now, as the guys return from the National Hockey League, he's getting bumped down. So I'm certainly not pinning this predicament that Abbotsford's in on a young player, but watching these 2 games closely, there just really hasn't been much to Danila Klimovich's game. Now, not alone. They're going to need more from just about everybody if they want to extend their season on Saturday night. But the stat that stands out, a presentation of resurrection spirits, and we've been telling you now about Bogey Juice, which is crafted with this tantalizing blend of crisp apple flavoring and kickin' ginger for a refreshing zing. Every shot of Bogey Juice like a hole-in-one for your taste buds, sweetened to perfection with simple syrup, made even smoother with top-shelf vodka. It's the only juice that's guaranteed to make your golf buddies beam with envy, despite the score it refers to. Check out bogeyjuice.com for more info. Use the promo code SP15 for 15% off Bogey Juice product and merchandise. All right, doing things in a little different order here on the program. And we will get into the chat and some of your thoughts on what you have seen here and some predictions for what's coming up on Saturday night. But let's get to the 3 stars, because certainly there were some star-level performances in Game 2 of this opening round AHL series. The 3 stars are a presentation of Greta Barr. And there you go. That's what Jackson Stauber looks like without the mask on. He was sensational. Stopped 17 shots in the first period. 14 more in the second. The shots were 31-20 in favor of Abbotsford through 40 minutes of play. And then, as we said, Tucson sort of took the play to Abbotsford in the third period, even though Abby got its only goal there. But the only goal to get past Jackson Stauber on the night, Linus Karlsson's second of this series from Atu Ratu and Sammy Blais at .254. But Jackson Stauber with a .974 save percentage on the night, yeah. And guess what? He gets the start on Saturday. I don't think there is any question about that. Ben McCartney. That's what Ben McCartney looks like. All right. Abbotsford got a good look at Ben McCartney. Watching him a fair bit tonight. Opens the scoring, closes the scoring. So bookend goals for Ben McCartney. A primary assist on the 2-0 goal as well. So quite a night for Ben McCartney. 3 points on 4 goals. He is the second star. And even though he doesn't figure in the scoring here, Max Sasson was the best Abbotsford skater. He is dangerous. I mean, his speed is noticeable. It sets him apart at the American Hockey League level. And he had some opportunities, without a doubt. Wasn't able to cash in, but did lead Abbotsford with 5 shots on goal. But when we talk about guys that, need to produce just a little bit more, Max Sasson, spent 30 games in the National Hockey League. Like, that should matter in a playoff series like this one. You want him to be a difference maker. He had an assist on one of the power play goals last night, but otherwise has been held in check in terms of production and finding the score sheet. So looking at you, Max Sasson, even though you were the third star, like the game, but there has to be a bottom line to this if Abbotsford's going to push on and advance to the second round of these AHL playoffs. The 3 stars, a presentation of Greta Bar YVR. Had all of those Canucks Army watch parties at Greta all season long. A ton of fun. Already looking forward to doing some of those next season. All the big screens, terrific arcade games, the street food menu. They've got weekly drink specials. Greta Bar, the place to be. 50 West Cordova. Greta Bar, let the games begin. And I'm guessing that Greta was hopping on a night like this one with NHL playoffs and Messi in town and a big Whitecaps win. I'm sure would have been a bunch of fun to be at Greta to take in that atmosphere as well. Speaking of atmosphere, and we touched on this last night, just would like to see a little more in the barn out in the Fraser Valley. Yeah, there were more people in there for game 2 than game 1, but still not a lot. The announced attendance, 4,062, 4062, up 300 from the opener. And, the excuse is always a midweek game, a Wednesday night. Those are a tough sell. Well, now it's a Thursday, and we're a little bit closer to the weekend. And still, building is barely half full. I am curious to see what that looks like. A Saturday night, a 1-game elimination game, Abbotsford. Hopefully people in the Fraser Valley will rally around this team. They've earned, they've earned home ice, and they've earned a good crowd as well. Like, they've been fun to watch. They've got name recognition. They've got, this streak that they've been on for the last couple of months. Get out there and support the Abbotsford Canucks. They can use it, and that's what home ice is all about. So hopefully, I would like to think on a Saturday night, playoff hockey, that they can get up over 5,000 at the very least. Like, pack the place, but I'm setting the bar. Anything under 5,000, I think it would be highly disappointing for a 1-game winner-take-all showdown. So let's see where it goes. We'll be back on Saturday as well. We'll do this after every game that Abbotsford plays in the playoffs, and just like these first 2, 7 o'clock puck drop, and so we'll be on whenever. Maybe we get some overtime. I'd be down for that in a deciding game, overtime. Not just 1 game takes all, but 1 goal. Next goal wins. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I thought we were going to get some overtime last night. This overtime was not a threat, I don't think, in this game, with Tucson in control at 3-1, and then the empty netter to make it a 4-1 final. Knucksford Cup says, this is why I hate the 3-game first round, especially for the Pacific. It waters down the true playoff rounds. And I hear you, but they're also trying to get more teams involved. Colorado getting a bye as the division winner, and so that allows 6 other teams to compete in the opening round, and that's a best of 3. And then, 4 teams ultimately, 3 will advance, and Colorado sitting there waiting for an opponent, and that's how it'll shake down. The next round, by the way, is a best of 5. So this one's best of 3, then a best of 5, and then the final 2 rounds of the American Hockey League playoffs are both best of 7. This much we know. And we don't know a lot because there are still a ton of things that have to be determined. But if Abbotsford does win on Saturday and advances, they can't play San Jose. They will play one of Ontario, Coachella Valley, or Calgary. If San Jose advances, they would be the lowest seed, and they would draw Colorado. So that's how it all shakes down. Now it's just a matter of fleshing out the rest of this playoff picture in the Pacific Division. San Jose beat Ontario. That's the Sharks farm team beating the LA Kings farm team. Didn't just beat them, it shut them out on the road. So good night for the road teams in the Pacific playoffs. Tucson with the win in Abbotsford, and San Jose with a 2-0 victory over the Ontario Reign. All right. You've probably been focused on other things going on, lots going on. If you missed any of the NHL playoff action, Florida takes both games in Tampa as the lower seed. So the defending champs off to a nice start, a 2-0 shutout win to take a 2-0 series lead. Second straight game, Toronto needed overtime to beat Ottawa 3-2. Quick overtime there. How about Minnesota? Kirill Kaprizov and Matt Boldy just putting on a show, running wild on Vegas. 5-2 the final, so many up 2-1 in that series. And the St. Louis Blues are alive, looking a lot like that team that rattled off 12 games down the stretch to get into the playoffs. St. Louis pumps Winnipeg 7-2. So the Jets still lead the series, but St. Louis making a statement. Pavel Buchnevich had the hat trick. Cam Fowler has a share of the NHL scoring lead in the early going here in these playoffs. Who would have thought that? Anyways, so that's what's going on. A busy night around the hockey circles. And, of course, the Whitecaps busy posting probably the biggest victory in franchise history over Inter Miami to take the first leg of that semifinal in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. 2-0 was the final. And so now, with the away leg coming up, Whitecaps in very good position to advance there. Crazy123 in the chat says, was hoping to see more out of Lekaramaki, but was an absolute non-factor aside from a few shots in the power play. We touched on that with Dave, that, yeah. And in fact, last night I thought on the power play, others were cashing in, so it wasn't as big a deal. But like they had a ton of power play. They had that 5-minute power play in game one, and would have liked to have seen Lekaramaki a little more prominent, featured a little more. I did like the 2 looks that he had in the first period, late in the first period, one off the post and one knocked the stick clean out of the goaltender's hand. Like there was a heavy shot there. That's what this guy does, still playing with the full bubble as well. And I don't know if that's affecting him, but, put him on the list. Absolutely put him on the list of guys that need to do a little bit more here through the first couple of games. And if they don't do more on Saturday, then it could very well be a long off season. Well, it will be a long off season. So, that's what they're looking at. And that's why I say, whether it's Max Sasson, whether it's Arshdeep Bains, Atu Ratu, yeah, he got an assist in this hockey game. I just watched him closely and didn't see a whole lot there. I wanted to see a guy, he looked more confident in the NHL than he looked here, certainly in game number 2. We talked about Klimovich. Even Phil DiGiuseppe, like, this is a veteran guy. He's been through the battles. And, he's never going to be the star of the show, but you'd like to see him lean into that leadership role and put his veteran presence to a little bit better use than we saw from him in this hockey game. So, we'll have to wait and see what kind of lineup Manny Malhotra runs out there on Saturday, if there are changes. I think I agree with Dave that Artur Silovs has the broader body of work. I mean, this is a guy that was playing playoff games at this time last year for the Vancouver Canucks. And you want to think that he can sort of use that to his advantage. He was fine. But Tucson has scored 3 goals on him in each of these first 2 games. So it's not like he has absolutely gone into lockdown mode. Can he be better? And I think the answer is, yeah. If he gets to start on Saturday, you'd like him to dial it up a little bit, give his team just that much more of an opportunity to win this game and advance in the playoffs. So, look, this is a really good team. They've earned this opportunity. Now they have to make it matter on Saturday. And that's where we are in all of this with the Abbotsford Canucks, who fall 4-1 on home ice. Just a disappointing third period for me. The first couple of periods, the effort was there, energy, scoring chances, but again, at the end of the night, I've done enough of these post-game shows. It doesn't do you any good to talk about all the chances. Because guess what? Tucson's talking about the goals that they scored. And so Abbotsford can look in the mirror and think, hey, we had some good looks, but they've got to do more, and they've got to find a way to cash in. Rink Wide's a presentation, in part, of Bet365. And if you want to get in the action for the Stanley Cup playoffs, at Bet365, they got you from game props to player props, totals, and the money line. You can even bet on futures like series winners, conference champions, and the Stanley Cup champs, and a whole lot more. Whatever your bet is never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. An official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs must be 19 or older. Just one goal, hard to win at any level if you're only scoring the one goal, and that's all that the Abbotsford Canucks got in this hockey game. Carlson, who has scored in back-to-back games, and he took that cross-check in the face. And it looked like he dropped, was in minor distress. He stayed in the hockey game, but uncalled there. That said, I don't think Abbotsford can look at the officiating and think they came out on the short end of the stick here. They had the first 4 power plays of this hockey game, and the deeper they went without scoring, you just thought, not only will Tucson start to get some calls, but this is going to come back to bite them. And sure enough, it did. And so, 2 power play goals in the first game. It's there. They've got the personnel, certainly, but that's where you have to give Jackson Stauber some credit. He was rested, and he was ready when called upon. And so, a nice night for the Tucson goaltender. And now, this is the thing. In a 3-game series, right? One game, if you get a goalie that stands on his head, boom, absolute difference maker. And Abbotsford's hoping that their goaltender, whoever it is, whether it's Silovs, whether it's Nikita Tolopilo, that he can stand on his head and be that difference maker. But Jackson Stauber has served notice that he's on the case now, and he means business, and so does Tucson. And Tucson played hard. Like last night when they were down 4-1, didn't go quietly. And that's where I was a little disappointed in Abbotsford, was that, they had seen their opponent stick with it in game 1 and come close to tying it. When Abby scored to make it 3-1, I thought, okay, there's enough time here that there is, we'll see how Tucson responds to a little bit of pressure, some adversity, but it really didn't come. And that was, I guess, as I watched this game, I didn't mind the first 40 minutes for Abbotsford, but I really didn't like the third period. And so they went quietly into the night. They fall by a score of 4-1. And as a result, they're now playing to stay alive in a winner-take-all on Thursday. This best of 3 is going the distance. All right. That's when we will be back, and we'll do this again after Saturday night's game. And at that point, we'll know if we're going to be working harder and longer, or if, like the parent club, the season is coming to a premature end. Before we go, and we rattled off everything else that's been going on locally here, I want to tell you about our friends at the Vancouver Canadians. Now, they're out on the road playing down in Everett right now, but they're back at the Nat on Tuesday, April 29th. Got a homestand coming up against Hillsborough. A bunch of us here from Rink Wide and Canucks Convo. Little office party out at Nat Bailey Stadium going into the Tuesday game. So come by and say hi if you're out there as well. But check out the Nooner Nooner at the Nat Friday, May 2nd. Great excuse to get the weekend started and get out of the office early. And then check out the White Spot Family Fun Sunday on May the 4th, which, yes, is Star Wars Day at the Nat. Kids can run the bases post-game, and May the 4th be with you. For tickets, check out CanadiansBaseball.com. Ben McCartney, you may have never heard of him before, but you heard from him tonight. He had 2 goals and an assist. He was the first star of the hockey game. Or no, he wasn't. He was the second star of the hockey game here on Rink Wide. Jackson Stauber was the first star. He was the Tucson goaltender. And we gave Max Sasson the 3rd star nod, even though didn't figure in the scoring. Linus Carlson, the only goal for Abby. They're going to need more. Need more on Saturday. So, all right, park this one and take the day off, and let's see what happens. They're going the distance. The distance isn't far in a best of 3, but they are going the distance. And it's boiled down now to one game. And we'll be back with the next episode of Rink Wide Abbotsford Playoff Edition coming up after Game 3 of this opening round series between the Abbotsford Canucks and the Tucson Roadrunners. But that is going to do it for us here tonight. I want to thank Jacob Lazar, the technical producer. Clark Corson is also here and helping out, doing some fine work at Canucks Army too. So getting a little hands-on experience, and we appreciate the work that he's doing. That's going to do it for us, though. We'll make sure that you join us on Saturday when we break down the third game in this series. 7 o'clock is the start time, and then we'll be on whenever that game is over. But that's going to do it for us here tonight. So thanks so much for checking out this episode of Rink Wide.